I started dressing differently. Designer jeans, expensive watches. My hair was professionally styled now. I drove a Tesla. My apartment overlooked Elliott Bay. Maria was still at her coffee cart, waking up at 4 a.m., going home exhausted at 8 p.m. I told myself I was just busy, that she understood, that we'd have time once things settled down. I was lying to myself. Year 2, Flow State hit 5 million users. Revenue was exploding. The board started talking about an IPO, going public, turning my company into a Wall Street darling. My net worth on paper was approaching 8 figures, and I hadn't even turned 26 yet. Maria came to the office one afternoon with coffee and homemade empanadas. My assistant stopped her at the front desk. "I'm sorry, ma'am. You can't just walk in without an appointment." I watched from my glass-walled office as Maria explained who she was. The assistant looked skeptical. I should have rushed down. I should have introduced Maria to everyone, told them she was the reason any of this existed. Instead, I sent a text. "In a meeting, can we do dinner next week?" I saw her face fall as she read it. She left the empanadas with the assistant and walked out. I didn't see the hurt. I didn't want to. That night she called. "David, are we okay? I feel like I'm losing you." "You're not losing me," I said, distracted by emails. "I'm just slammed right now. You know how startups are." "I know how you are," she said quietly. Or I thought I did. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Forget it. I love you." "Love you too," I said automatically, already moving on to the next email. I didn't hear the crack in her voice. Or maybe I did, and I ignored it. 3 months later, everything changed. We went public. Flow State's IPO was the most successful tech debut of the year. The stock opened at $42 and closed at 93. My shares were worth $78 million. $78 million. I was on the cover of Forbes. TechCrunch called me the boy wonder of productivity. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Interview requests, speaking invitations, party invitations. I tried calling Maria. It went to voicemail. I texted, "We did it. I'm a millionaire. Call me." She didn't respond for 6 hours. When she did, it was just, "Congratulations, David. I'm really proud of you." That was it. No enthusiasm, no celebration. I was too caught up in my victory to notice the coldness. The parties started immediately. Every night was another event, another celebration, another room full of people who suddenly found me fascinating. Investors, entrepreneurs, models, socialites. Everyone wanted a piece of the golden boy. That's where I met Victoria Sterling. She walked into a charity gala at the Four Seasons like she owned the place, because her family basically did. Victoria was old money, East Coast royalty, the daughter of Richard Sterling, one of the most powerful venture capitalists in the country. She was beautiful in that effortless, expensive way. Silk dress, perfect posture, a smile that was somehow warm and calculating at the same time. "David Chen," she said, extending her hand. "I've been wanting to meet you. All good things, I hope. My father says you're either a genius or the luckiest man alive." She leaned in, conspiratorial. "I think it's both." We talked for hours. She understood my world, the pressure, the stakes, the constant scrutiny. She'd grown up around tech giants and Wall Street titans. She knew which investors mattered, which conferences were worth attending, which rooms I needed to be in. "You're on the verge of something massive," she told me over our third glass of champagne. "But you need to be strategic. It's not just about building a good product anymore. It's about building the right relationships." She was right, and more importantly, she was interested in me. Not the struggling kid who needed free coffee, but the successful CEO who'd made it. Maria texted that night, "Saw you on the news. You look happy." I was drunk and floating on success. I replied, "I am. Wish you were here." She wrote back, "Do you?" I stared at that message for a long time. Then I put my phone away and ordered another drink with Victoria. Over the next 2 months, Victoria and I were inseparable. She introduced me to her circle: tech billionaires, hedge fund managers, politicians. Every door opened for her, and now they were opening for me too. She'd say things like, "We should vacation in Aspen this winter." And I'd forget that I used to think Applebee's was fancy dining. She'd mentioned casually, "Daddy's Fund is interested in your Series C," and suddenly Richard Sterling was taking my calls. She never asked about my past, never wanted to know about the struggle, the ramen noodles, the nights I slept in my car. Victoria only cared about the future, the empire we could build together. Meanwhile, Maria's texts came less frequently. Then they stopped altogether. I told myself it was for the best. We'd grown apart. She was part of my old life, and I was building a new one. I didn't call her to explain. I didn't have the courage. 6 months after the IPO, I saw Maria's number flash on my screen. My heart jumped. I almost answered, but Victoria was next to me in bed, asleep, her hand on my chest, and answering felt like acknowledging a life I'd left behind. I let it go to voicemail. Maria's voice was quiet, tired. "Hey, David, I just wanted to hear your voice. I miss you. I miss us. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I'll always be here." I deleted the message. 2 weeks later, I proposed to Victoria at a private restaurant that cost more than Maria's entire yearly rent. The ring cost $80,000. Victoria said yes before I even finished the question. The engagement announcement went viral. Forbes, Bloomberg, Vanity Fair, everyone covered it. Tex power couple, they called us. Photos of Victoria and me on red carpets, at galas, boarding private jets. In one interview, the reporter asked, "What's the secret to your success?" I should have said Maria's name. I should have told the world about the woman who believed in me when I was nobody. Instead, I looked at Victoria and said, "Having the right people believe in you." Victoria has been instrumental in helping me navigate this world. The article published with a photo of Victoria and me. The caption read, "Chen credits fiancée Victoria Sterling as key to his meteoric rise." Maria saw it. I know she did, because that's when she blocked me on everything. I told myself I didn't care. I was engaged to Victoria Sterling. I was rich beyond imagination. I had everything I'd ever dreamed of, except I couldn't sleep at night. The wedding was set for June. 600 guests, a venue on the water, a 10-piece orchestra. Victoria handled everything. I just showed up and smiled for photos. My mother called 2 weeks before the wedding. "David, I need to ask you something." "What, Mom?" "What happened to Maria, that sweet girl who used to call me, who sent me flowers when I was sick?" My throat tightened. We grew apart." "No." My mother's voice was sharp. "You threw her away. That girl loved you when you had nothing. She believed in you. And you—" "Mom, you don't understand. Victoria and I understand perfectly. You got successful and forgot who helped you get there." She paused. "I'm coming to your wedding, David, because you're my son, but I'm ashamed of the man you've become." She hung up. I poured myself a scotch, expensive, aged, the kind I used to dream about affording, and it tasted like ash. The wedding was beautiful. Victoria was stunning. $300,000 for one day, champagne towers, celebrity guests, a live performance by a Grammy winner. I smiled in every photo. I said my vows. I kissed my bride, and I felt nothing. That night, alone in our honeymoon suite in Bora Bora, while Victoria took a business call from her father, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. I didn't recognize the man staring back. The marriage was a merger, not a relationship. Victoria was always networking, always positioning, always calculating. Our conversations were about stock options and board positions, never about dreams or fears or anything real. We had separate bedrooms within 6 months. "It's better for our sleep schedules," she explained. What she meant was, this was always a business arrangement. I threw myself into work, pushing harder, growing faster. But the growth required cutting corners. Investors demanded results, and I started making choices I knew were wrong. My CTO, James, cornered me after a board meeting. "David, we can't report these user numbers. They're inflated. It's fraud." "It's aggressive accounting," I snapped. "It's illegal." "Just do what I say, James. I didn't build this company to have people question me." He stared at me like I was a stranger. "What happened to you, man? You used to care about doing things right." "I grew up. Maybe you should too." He quit the next day. I should have seen the warning signs, but I was too arrogant, too convinced of my own brilliance. I'd gone from nothing to everything. I thought I was untouchable. I wasn't. It started with an anonymous tip to the SEC. Someone, probably James, reported the fraudulent user numbers. Then the Wall Street Journal started digging into our revenue reports. Then the lawsuit started. Federal investigators showed up at my office on a Tuesday morning. They seized servers, documents, hard drives. My employees watched in horror as agents walked me out in handcuffs. The perp walk was on every news channel. Tech Wonder Boy arrested for fraud. Flow State CEO faces criminal charges. The rise and fall of David Chen. Victoria's lawyer called before I was even processed. Mrs. Chen Sterling has filed for divorce. She requests you don't contact her. 3 years of marriage ended with a phone call from her attorney. My bail was set at $5 million. My mother had to mortgage her house. She didn't say, "I told you so." She didn't have to. Her eyes said everything. The trial took 18 months. Every day, more evidence of my corruption came out. Falsified reports, insider trading, securities fraud. I'd built my empire on lies, and now it was collapsing on top of me. My lawyers burned through millions. My assets were frozen. The house was seized. The cars were repossessed. Everything I'd built, everything I'd sacrificed Maria for, gone. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on 14 counts. I got 3 years in federal prison, suspended to 18 months if I cooperated. I also owed $47 million in fines and restitution. Money I didn't have anymore. Prison was hell, but not because of the conditions. It was hell because I had time to think, time to remember, time to realize what I'd become. I thought about Maria every single day. In my cell, I'd remember her smile, her laugh, the way she'd believed in me. I'd remember deleting her voicemail. I'd remember choosing Victoria over her. I'd remember the Forbes article where I'd erased Maria from my story. I wrote her a letter. 10 pages of apologies, explanations, regrets. I tore it up. What could I possibly say that would matter? I was released after 14 months for good behavior. I walked out of prison with $200, a bus ticket, and absolutely nothing else. No job, no money, no friends, no wife, no company. Just shame and regret and the knowledge that I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. I moved into a motel in Tacoma. $40 a night, cockroaches included. I took whatever work I could find. Food delivery mostly. DoorDash, Uber Eats, anything that paid. One night I delivered Thai food to a penthouse apartment. A young couple answered. Clearly in love. Clearly struggling financially but happy. They tipped me $3 and thanked me profusely. I cried in my car for 20 minutes. That was supposed to be Maria and me. We were supposed to struggle together and build something beautiful. Instead, I chased success and lost everything that mattered. 6 months after my release, I was doing a delivery in downtown Seattle. The address took me to 5th and Pine, Maria's old corner. The cart was gone, obviously, but there was something else there now. A small cafe with warm lights and a hand-painted sign. Compassion Cafe. My hands started shaking. I looked through the window. It was beautiful. Cozy tables, local art on the walls, people laughing and working on laptops. And there, behind the counter, was Maria. She looked older, but somehow more radiant. Her hair was shorter. She wore an apron with the cafe logo. She was smiling at a customer, that same genuine smile I remembered. She'd built this, without me, without my money. She'd done what I couldn't, created something real, something based on integrity instead of shortcuts. I stood there in the rain for 20 minutes, just watching her. Customers came and went. She greeted each one by name, asked about their days, remembered their orders. This wasn't just a business to her. It was a community. I should have walked away. I had no right to her time, her space, her life. I'd made my choices, but I was cold, wet, and broken. And some desperate part of me needed to see if there was any chance, any microscopic possibility that she didn't hate me. I pushed open the door. A bell chimed. Several customers looked up. Maria was making an espresso, her back to me. "Be right with you," she called out cheerfully. I sat in the corner booth, hood up, trying to disappear. Maybe she wouldn't recognize me. Maybe I could just sit here for a few minutes, get warm, and leave before. She turned around with the espresso and froze. Our eyes met across the cafe. 5 years of pain, betrayal, and regret hung in the air between us. I watched her face cycle through emotions: shock, hurt, anger, something else I couldn't identify. She set down the espresso carefully, said something to her employee, a young guy who nodded and took over the machine. Then she walked toward me. Every step felt like an eternity. She slid into the booth across from me, saying nothing, just looking at me with those eyes that used to see the best in everyone. "Hi, Maria," I managed to whisper. "David." Her voice was neutral, carefully controlled. I don't deserve to be here." "No," she agreed quietly. "You don't." The words hit like a punch, but they were true. I nodded, started to stand. "I'll go." "Sit down." I sat. She folded her hands on the table, composed. "Why are you here?" "I was delivering food nearby. I saw your cafe. I gestured helplessly. "I wanted to see that you were okay." "You wanted to see if I was okay?" Her voice rose slightly. 5 years, David. 5 years of silence, and you wanted to check if I was okay? I know. I know I don't have the right. You're damn right you don't. Her eyes were blazing now. You threw me away like garbage. You took everything I gave you, my money, my time, my heart, and you used it to build your empire. Then you erased me from your story like I never existed. Maria, I'm so sorry. Do you know how I found out about your engagement? She interrupted. Forbes magazine? I was cleaning my cart and a customer left their magazine behind. There you were with her, talking about how she was instrumental to your success. Her voice cracked. I gave you my last $300, David. I believed in you when you were nobody, and you couldn't even mention my name. Tears were streaming down my face. You're right, about all of it. I was a coward. I was selfish. I got caught up in the success, and I forgot. You didn't forget. She leaned forward. You chose. Every day you chose not to call. You chose not to answer when I reached out. You chose Victoria and her connections over me. Those were choices, David. Own them. I couldn't speak. She was absolutely right. She took a shaky breath. I cried for 6 months. Did you know that? I blame myself. I thought maybe I wasn't sophisticated enough, wasn't pretty enough, wasn't enough. My mother had to fly here because I was so depressed I stopped eating. God, Maria, I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, she shouted, then caught herself. The cafe had gone quiet. She lowered her voice. You hurt me more than anyone ever has. And the worst part? I still loved you. Even after everything, some stupid part of me hoped you'd come back and tell me it was all a mistake. It was a mistake, I said desperately. All of it. Victoria, the fraud, everything. I threw away the only real thing in my life for money and status, and I lost it all anyway. She studied my face. I heard about the arrest, the trial. You did? Of course I did. She looked away. I still checked on you. Even after you destroyed me, I couldn't stop caring. Fresh shame washed over me. I don't deserve your caring. No, you don't. She was quiet for a moment. What happened to you, David? The man I knew would never have done those things. I thought about her question, really thought about it. I got scared, I finally said. Success came so fast, and I was terrified of losing it. So I started making compromises. Little ones at first, missing our dates, prioritizing work, surrounding myself with people who only cared about what I could do for them. Each compromise made the next one easier. By the time I realized what I'd become, I didn't recognize myself anymore. And Victoria? She was everything you weren't. Cold, calculating, transactional. I thought that's what success looked like. I thought if I was with someone like her, in those rooms, at those parties, I'd finally be someone who mattered. I laughed bitterly. Turns out I was someone who mattered when I was broke and eating your free coffee. I just couldn't see it. Maria's eyes softened slightly. What are you doing now? Food delivery, living in a motel. I owe $47 million I'll never have. I'm basically starting over, except now I'm 31 instead of 23, and everyone knows my name for all the wrong reasons. Do you regret it? Every second of every day. I met her eyes. But most of all, I regret losing you. Not because you could have helped me avoid all this, though you would have, but because you were the only person who ever loved me for who I was, not what I could become. And I traded that for a lie. She was quiet for a long time, then she stood up. My heart sank. This was it. She was going to ask me to leave, and I'd never see her again. Instead, she walked to the counter. I watched as she prepared a drink with practiced movements. The espresso machine hissed. She steamed milk, added foam, drizzled something on top. Then she brought it to my table and set it down in front of me. Double shot vanilla latte, extra foam, cinnamon on top. My old order, the one she used to make me every single morning. You remember, I whispered. I remember everything, David. She sat back down. That's my problem. I stared at the coffee, unable to touch it. Why are you being kind to me? After everything? She was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. Because 5 years ago, I had to make a choice. I could become bitter and angry, let what you did poison me, turn me into someone hard and cruel, or I could choose to stay who I am, someone who believes in second chances, who believes people can change. I don't deserve a second chance. Maybe not, she agreed, but I deserve to be the kind of person who offers one anyway. Not for you, David, for me. I finally looked up at her. This place, it's incredible. You built this yourself? A small smile crossed her face. I did. After you left, I threw myself into work, started saving differently, treating myself better. A customer offered to invest in me, someone who'd been coming to my cart for years. I opened the first cafe 3 years ago. Now I have 3 locations. 3? I was stunned. Opening a 4th next month in Bellevue. She paused. I also started a program. 15% of our profits go to helping other small business owners get started. People like me, who have the dream but not the capital. I've helped 12 people open their own businesses so far. Tears were flowing freely now. Maria, that's beautiful. It's the right thing to do. Someone believed in me once, invested in my potential. I want to pay that forward. She gave me a pointed look. Even if the person I helped first didn't appreciate it. I appreciated it, I said urgently. I just showed it in the worst possible way. I became everything you taught me not to be. She nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? Anything. If you could go back, knowing everything you know now, what would you do differently? I didn't hesitate. I'd have stayed with you, built something slower, something real. I'd have introduced you at every interview, every article, every moment of success, and told them the truth, that none of it would exist without you. I'd have married you in a tiny ceremony with our families, not her in a showpiece wedding. I'd have built a company based on integrity, not fraud. I swallowed hard. I'd have chosen love over status, every single time. That's a nice story, she said softly. But stories are easy. Actions are hard. I know. I looked down at my hands, calloused now from manual labor, so different from the soft hands I'd had as a CEO. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for another chance. I just needed you to know that you were right about everything. And I'm sorry I had to lose everything to figure that out. She studied me for a long moment. Then she said something that shocked me. We're hiring. What? Barista position, minimum wage, opening shifts. You'd have to be here at 5 a.m., work hard, treat customers with respect. She leaned forward. And you'd have to work under me, take orders from me, and accept that you're starting at the absolute bottom. Can your ego handle that? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Maria, why would you? Because someone once told me that believing in people is never wasted, even when they disappoint you. I'd like to prove that's still true. Her eyes were serious. But David, I'm not doing this for us. There is no us. That died a long time ago. I'm doing this because I believe people can change, and I want to see if you actually will. I will, I promised. I swear to you I will. We'll see. She stood up again. Finish your coffee. If you want the job, be here Monday morning at 5 a.m. Don't be late. She walked back to the counter, leaving me alone with the latte and more grace than I'd ever deserved. That was 6 months ago. I took the job. I show up every morning at 4:55 a.m., and I work harder than I ever worked building flow state. I scrub toilets, I clean espresso machines, I take out trash, I serve coffee with a smile. My coworkers are mostly college kids who have no idea who I am. That's perfect. They treat me like just another employee, because that's what I am. Maria is professional but distant. She doesn't give me special treatment. If anything, she's harder on me than the others. When I mess up an order, she makes me remake it. When I'm lazy about cleaning, she calls me out. And I'm grateful for every correction. I'm learning what I should have learned a decade ago. That real success isn't about how much money you make or whose parties you attend. It's about showing up, doing the work, treating people with dignity, building something that matters. Last week, a kid came in, reminded me of myself at 23, counting change, clearly struggling. He ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. I made his coffee, then added a croissant. On the house, I said. I can't accept. Please, I insisted. It makes me happy to help. He looked confused, but he took it. And I understood finally what Maria had been trying to teach me all along. This morning, Maria pulled me aside after the rush. You're doing good work, David. Thank you. I mean it. You're showing up. You're humble. You're kind to the customers. I see the effort. Something in her voice was different, softer. Can I ask you something? I said carefully. Sure. Do you think someday we could maybe get coffee, just talk? She smiled, a real smile, the first one she'd given me in 6 months. We have coffee every day, David. You know what I mean. She was quiet, considering. Maybe, someday. When you've proven that this version of you is real and lasting, not just another performance. She paused. Ask me again in a year. I will, I promised. And I meant it, because I've learned the hardest lesson of my life. Success without character is just a house of cards waiting to collapse. Real wealth isn't measured in stock options or square footage. It's measured in relationships, integrity, and the person you see in the mirror. I lost millions of dollars, my company, my reputation, and the love of my life because I forgot where I came from. But standing here at 5 a.m., making coffee for strangers, working under the woman I betrayed, finally understanding what actually matters, I'm richer than I ever was in my penthouse. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below. Would you have given David a second chance? What's the most important lesson you've learned about success? Remember, the people who believe in you when you're nothing are worth more than all the people who only love you when you're something. Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget who helped you get there. Because karma doesn't forget. And sometimes, if you're incredibly lucky, grace gives you one more chance to get it right. Subscribe for more stories about life, karma, and second chances.